unfortunately, Andrew at the time was racing in Monaco, and I waited for 2 or 3 days. We were trying to get through to Andrew. Andrew hadn't left his number with anybody, which is fairly typical of Andrew. And basically I had to release my press statement earlier than I talked to Andrew. So what happened was that the statement came across as something about me leaving Andrew behind as opposed to the management behind, which was really not the case. And Andrew and I are meeting up next week in Los Angeles to record the last Wham single, and the concert hopefully will go ahead. And basically there's absolutely no rift whatsoever between the two of us. It's just something that the press have been waiting for so long.
That so it'll be a summertime, gentle, amicable party.
Yeah, I think basically we want to turn it all around. I mean, there's no point in trying to tell people that we're not splitting up, but I think it should be the most amicable split in pop history if we do it properly.
It's interesting, isn't it, and I'm sure you'll agree, it's an odd fact that pop stars, even internationally famous ones, can knock off world political crises off the front page. It's a funny business, isn't it? I
find it quite sad that really the papers have started to become much more like pop comics, you know, and although there's no way I will deny I enjoy being a star, there's a point where being a star becomes being an object of trivia, really, when all people want to write about you is, you know, that you feed your cat regularly, or that you paid your dancers 3 years ago £12.50 a night.
But you do feed your cat, don't you?
Oh, I do. Absolutely. I mean, it's not that I don't appreciate the things that have happened to me in the last 3 or 4 years. I do, but I do find it very hard to come to terms with the fact that people have formed this image of me, which is basically based on the press's speculations, because I don't talk to the press. I haven't talked to the press since China.
So are you amazed by what is written about you?
I am quite amazed, Joe. I'm quite amazed, and most of the time quite amused. It's just a bit difficult to have to try and prove to everyone that you meet that you're not, you know, like brain dead, because that's the type of impression I think people have of me through the papers, you know.
Let's talk about image building then, because Cliff Richard was on this show last week and was talking about the way he built his image, which was actually before you were born. How did you go about your image building?
Well, it was a strange process, actually. When we were initially thrown into the spotlight, as they say, we'd both just come from school about 9 months before. Andrew was on the dole, and I was doing 2 part-time jobs. I said I was on the dole at the time because it was very trendy at the time to be on the dole, as far as the music press was concerned. So we were both, you know, dole boys. We then suddenly realised that we had to change that image, if you like to call it that, because we weren't really living normal lives anymore, in terms of we weren't on the dole. We weren't going to pubs every night the way we had done before. There were certain restrictions that we had on ourselves, and certain business things that we were doing every day of our lives, which had nothing to do with the people that were buying our records. So we thought, this is all getting a bit fake, which is when we went into this kind of, you know, whole suntan and the kind of high gloss image, which again, it worked, and I think it was honest, because, you know, we were filming in hot places and things like that, and we were wearing shorts and things like that. But 2 earrings, George, that's... Oh, the two earring story is quite good, actually, because what happened was Andrew originally wore 2 earrings about 2-3 years before Wham started, and my mum and dad didn't like Andrew very much, you see, because, you know, it's the typical story, you know, when you get to about 12 or 13 at school and you suddenly realise that there are better things to do than homework or whatever, and you have the normal interest that 13, 14-year-old boys have. And
bicycles, things like that.
Bicycles, yeah. And collecting football cards and things like that. And my dad said to me, you ever come home with 2 earrings, he said, and you'll be out that door, right? So my dad actually meant it. See, he's Greek, my father, Greek Cypriot, and I think he meant what he said. So I used to think, oh, well, one day. And then eventually we got our record contract, and the day after we got our record contract, I went to Selfridges and had both my ears shot, you know. And I went home, like, you know, went through the door, kind of fear, and not a word was said. I think he thought it was business, you know. Once you had a record contract,
he's got 3 in his left nostril now. And so
oh, yeah.
I must say, the audiences, George, look terrifying. Do they ever frighten you?
They don't usually terrify me. I'm not terrified in front of my own audience because I like to think that if someone's forked out £4 or £5 to go and see them, it's because they have bought your records or because they want to see you.
But then you do face physical danger at times, missiles and stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that it's funny, but the worst things that get thrown at you are thrown in perfectly with goodwill. You know, I mean, I experienced in America. There was, I think it was Philadelphia or San Francisco. We played one particular occasion. We played to about 13,000 people on the first American tour. And we were just getting pelted with objects. People were kind of so frantic to make some kind of contact or get some reaction that they just throw anything that they had in their pockets or on their person, right? So you get like boots thrown at you, and you get... and one night this Duracell hit me like straight between the eyes, and I nearly fell over. And Andrew actually stopped the band for a minute, and you know, it was really strange to hear him saying, "Please, don't throw things at George." You know. It was like, you know, what have I done wrong? But they just wanted some kind of reaction.
They probably threw several batteries, but only the Duracell got
Oh,
through.
yeah.
Have you always been obsessed by music? Were there any other ambitions?
When I was very young, I wanted to be a pilot. Because when I was 5, I had this girlfriend who was going to be a stewardess. And then when I was about 7, I went for one of the regular eye tests. And, you know, you get one of those cards with all dots on, and you're supposed to see 56, and I could see 27. You know, it's one of those ones. If you see the wrong numbers, then you've definitely got something wrong with your vision. And I'm just slightly red-green colourblind. So, you know, I think I'm wearing blue, like a deep yellow. And it's not that bad. It's just that you cannot. When you're red-green colourblind, red and green are fairly important colours to people who try to wave down planes and things like that. And I think they told me that being a pilot was definitely out. So I gave up on that. And that was about the same time that my mother and father bought me a radio, and basically all my other interests just disappeared once I had that radio.
But did they regret that until you became a star? They had other hopes for you, of course.
Oh, they regretted it for years and years. I spent my whole childhood between 7 and about, well, really until the day that I got my record contract, having rows with my parents, specifically my father, because he's not very musical, to put it mildly. And I don't suppose... I can't blame him. I mean, you know, he had no idea about what possibilities there were for me, and he just looked at it as a very, very dodgy profession to want to go into.
What about
now, of course?
Yes, now. Do they go to your
home and waits for the checks? He's great. He came round very, very, very with a lot of dignity. He just accepted that he'd been wrong and.
And you were not.
And waited for the checks.
Yeah. What about your mother? Did they actually go to the concerts?
Oh yeah, my mum and dad come to just about every concert. My mother is actually. If it weren't for the fact that I suppose there's a lot of pride in seeing your son up on stage, I suppose if it weren't for that, I'd have probably had her committed after the first concert, because she's amazing. She's so reserved, my mum. She's really quiet, really reserved, very English, and yet the minute that the curtains part at one of our gigs, it's just like she's down there at the front. She's like, I've seen my mother being helped over barriers by security. She's got a skirt caught, you know. Halfway through a number, you can see this commotion going on halfway down the hall. It's your mum trying to climb the barrier. She's incredible. She's absolutely amazing.
Oh, you can't beat her. You're 22 now, aren't you?
22.
You're immensely rich. What do you enjoy most about fame and fortune?
What do I enjoy the most? I think, really, more than anything, I enjoy the freedom. There are two things, I think, in life that give you freedom. One is success in your own particular field, and one is money, obviously. And I've got no real regard for money past security and comfort. I mean, I'm not a buyer. I don't buy things. You know, if I can't wear it or I can't eat it, I'm not really that bothered. You know, I've got a small house. I'm not trying to sound like, you know, I'm very humble, but I've got a small house because it's all I need. Which I rent, actually. Everyone's telling me to buy, but I still rent.
Oh, we must buy.
And I basically don't spend money on on anything but my profession. I mean, I love being able to put money back into what I do professionally.
I hope that you do what you want to do in the future. You obviously will. You've got a mind of your own, and it's been very good to meet you. Thank you very much,
much,
George Michael.